This Ash Wednesday, on the 17th of February 2021, many parishioners are receiving the imposition of ashes in unconventional ways. In Gainford and in Winston, we are unable to meet in church, and the physical distribution of ashes for distance imposition is rather complicated. And so I invite you to join me in a creative act of ashing in a symbolic and meaningful way. We're going to use wine or champagne corks, chard to create ash at one end, and we can either make the sign of the cross, marking our forehead or our hand with the ash, or use the cork with a cross, cut and charred, as a stamp on our forehead or hand.
Good morning. Because this year we're not going to be able to take part in an Ash Wednesday service in church, I want to show you how to make an ashing stamp so that you'll be able to take part in the online service on Ash Wednesday and symbolically put ash on yourself at the appropriate point. It's very simple, really. All we need is some matches, a pen, a sharp blade, I've got a scalpel or a Stanley knife would equally do, and a cork. Now I want to emphasise to use a real cork. The plastic corks that are found in some bottles of wine are not suitable. Use the wine end, not the end where you've put the corkscrew in, because that will spoil the print. Using your pen, draw a circle all the way around the wine end of the cork. About 3 millimetres, in old-fashioned money 3 millimetres is a good 1/8 of an inch. And then on the end of the cork you draw a cross, like that. Then taking the knife, cut down the vertical cuts first, one, and then cut that little quadrant out. There. Is that clear? Yeah, I think so. Okay, now you do the same with the other 3 quarters. And you finish up with, as they used to say on Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier. Okay. At this point we put some ash on it, and we do that by burning the cork, and of course that's why we must have a natural cork and not a synthetic. So you don't need to do the end of the cork like this. Oops. That's certainly what you wouldn't want to use an unnatural cork. So we've now got the end of our cork in the shape of the cross, at the appropriate point in the service. The symbol of the cross for Ash Wednesday.
Here is an alternative method for you to ash yourself. You need a box of matches and a cork from a wine bottle. Extra long matches are the most suitable to use. Light the match and hold the end of the cork in the flame until the end of the cork is singed and appears black. If the cork catches fire, just blow it out and continue. You can also use a candle as another way of singeing the cork. Slightly dampen the singed end of the cork by dipping the end in water. You can use a plate or a saucer, but do not get the cork too wet. Mark the sign of a cross on the back of your hand. It helps if you clench your fists when doing this. You have now ashed yourself.
So what's the symbolism of ashing and wine? This is the reason I have proposed this method for the imposition of ashes. We begin Lent by acknowledging our human mortality. Remember, you are but dust, and to dust you shall return. It is also the opportunity of redemption. Repent and turn your heart to Christ. Well, for a year, we have only been able to receive communion in one form. We have missed receiving from the cup of wine. By ashing with the wine or champagne cork, we acknowledge our mortality and redemption. When Jesus instructed at the Lord's Supper, saying to his disciples, "This is my blood of the new covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins," we receive the cup of wine, acknowledging that Jesus paid the ultimate price for us. God laid on Jesus the iniquity of us all. And by God's grace, in Jesus Christ, our mortality is not the end. Our redemption in the Son of God, who loved us and gave his life for us, leads us into life everlasting. And so, I hope that you would consider joining me in ashing this Ash Wednesday. And if you don't have a champagne cork or a wine cork, I have a box of them, and either you can come and collect them from the vicarage, the outside, and so it's safe, or perhaps Lynn, for those who are in Winston, or Jeff, for those who are in Gainford, could give you some advice about how you can get hold of them. Maybe someone could collect a cork